statement he made was only about women's outfit. And it shows how low they can go, because, why do you have to just speak? The country is in the age of starvation. We know people are suffering from poverty. So instead of like focusing as a power who is now controlling Afghanistan, instead of focusing on things that they should do for the country, the whole statement and the whole focus is only on woman outfit and how should women do, as if women are their only enemy, while women are already being erased from all the public sphere. Their basic rights are being eliminated, but they even don't want them to breathe. That atmosphere of fear.
Why do you think he made this announcement now?
Well, we know that Taliban establishment was based on their suppressive measures against women. They're very famous for that suppressive measures. Recently, there are obviously signs that the movement or the group has fragmented. There are different ideologies between them. At least they're fragmented in 5 layers. And I think for him to keep the unity, one of the means to keep the unity is suppressing women. That's how they can.
It's so interesting there, Fawzia. So you think that it might be for political cohesion. So maybe, in a way, this shows cracks in the structure, perhaps. How do you think such a ruling or such an announcement will impact the women back in Afghanistan? What are you hearing day-to-day life?
It has frightened them. Some of the women who actually were going to the offices, working even discreetly, they have stopped going to the offices since 3 days, because if their leader says something, an educated soldier on the streets could amplify that order to suppress a woman. All what Taliban do against women is political. It has got nothing to do in our religion or culture. They do it as a bargaining chip for international community, for engagement with their international community, not give the space to the woman, to the political opposition, especially to the woman. We want to take the lead in bringing a political solution. We are now working day and night to see how we can unite all the forces. But unfortunately, we are not being given this space.
And of course, there are sanctions against aiding the Taliban now that comes from the international community. The Taliban are in power of those institutions. If we look at the issue of girls attending school, it's now 900 days since girls were first banned from going to school in Afghanistan. The Taliban says they would be readmitted once a number of issues were resolved, including ensuring the curriculum was Islamic. But what stage are we at with that? Has there been any movement whatsoever to getting those girls and young women back into school?
No, and in fact, only 2 days ago there was the third year that girls are not allowed to go to school. They continue to obtain education in their own way, be it discreet, online. But why should education be a crime? Why should getting education be a crime? Yesterday I was talking to some women who were telling me that the Taliban went to their centers, education centers, searched them, asking them questions to ensure that they are actually not getting regular education, but only getting Islamic education. They were telling me that they're shaking because of the fear after the Taliban left the center. I mean, once you are in that circumstances and you feel that you, for getting education, you are being interrogated, you are in that constant fear. You can only feel that when you are in that circumstances. 3 years later, there is no prospect on when the Taliban will allow girls to go to school, when they will open the universities, when they will allow women to go to workforce. And we have, it's not only like the basic minimum rights of women that are deprived, that are banned, but also the economy of Afghanistan because of these bans. We have $1 billion deficit every year to our country's economy because of the ban on women's employment. And I think unless and until we do not change the political ecosystem, the hope that maybe we will influence Taliban here and there and they will change policies is not really an optimistic hope. So I think we need to really change, empower the women, give them the stage internationally inside Afghanistan, support those local organizations, support women, discreet education, whatever means to keep the spirit of education in women.
That was Fazia Kufi, the former Deputy Speaker of the Afghan Parliament and the first woman to ever hold that position. Thanks so much to her as we were talking about 900 days since girls have left their education. I want to talk now about somebody you may or may not have heard of, but her work perhaps has influenced your life. She was a huge figure in the world of children's television, and I'm talking about Kay Benbow. She was hailed as Queen of the BBs. Sadly, she has died. That was yesterday at the age of 63. And under her tenure as controller of the BBC's CBeebies, the channel won numerous awards. Many of the shows she commissioned, they still remain on air today. I'm joined by Dr. Emily Bourne, a senior lecturer at the University of Sheffield, who's currently writing a book about children and childcare, and also by Anne Wood, producer of programmes like Rosie and Jim, Teletubbies even, and In the Night Garden. She knew Kay and worked with her on a number of occasions. So let me begin with you, Anne. What was exceptional about Kay and her work? And talk us through a little of some of the projects she was involved in.
Well, when we worked with Kay, it was an absolute delight. I mean, it's easy to say that because one expects all of that kind of thing to be said in these terribly sad circumstances, but it is actually true. She had immensely, she had a quiet confidence about her, and she believed in the importance of what was shown on television for children. She wanted to widen the experiences that they had vicariously, and she also very much understood, and we shared this very much, the importance that children could make their own meaning from watching. It wasn't just a question of putting on something and they would watch. It would be putting on something that they would watch and make their own understanding out of, although it also was entertaining for them. And this is a very important part of anybody, whether it's a children's book editor or a television editor. And it's harder to do, I think, in television. It's a very relentless industry. And there's a lot of, and certainly at the time Kay was inhabiting that position, there was a lot of change impending at the BBC, particularly in children's. So she, nevertheless, was very tenacious in hanging on to what she believed was of the widest possible experiences for children. And I think she rightly won Channel of the Year more than once, because it was appreciated. And the other thing was she had a great sense of humour.
I think you're going to have to, right, if you're doing children's television as well, perhaps. Well, thank you for that, Anne. I want to turn to you, Emily, and you've said that Kay changed the way that TV was made for children. What do you think was that defining aspect in the way that it was before Kay, or perhaps even what you see now?
Well, so Kay was born in Sheffield in 1961, and she would have grown up in the era of Watch with Mother, when children's programming was happening at a particular time of day. It would have been in the one room of the house, likely to have a television, the living room, and the idea of watching with a parent was baked into the title. It was a collective and also kind of time-bracketed experience. But she was in charge of CBeebies during a decade when that changed completely. CBeebies became a channel with 13-hour broadcasting from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then also launched apps that children could access really at any time of the day. And Playtime app was launched in 2013, so kind of right in the middle of her period in charge of CBeebies. And I think what was remarkable about Kay's vision is that she really tried to protect what was special about the kind of spirit of Watch with Mother. So her programs are always about that they're profoundly kind of respectful of the child and the child's experience and the meaning that a child can make. So something like Tweenies is about child-led play in a play school, and the main characters are 4 puppet children. But things like Tickabilla or the show that we love in our house, Baby Club, are about inviting the parent in, and they're as much aimed at the parent as the child, and they almost kind of tutor the parent in how to interact with the child and the kind of activities that they might do. And then when you have this kind of longer day potentially of viewing, the thing that CBeebies does really beautifully is it matches that viewing to the rhythm of the young life. So you have the kind of exciting morning shows, which are typically a very high energy time of day. Then in this period between kind of 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock, when many children might be in a childcare setting or out and about, what CBeebies does is it has this kind of discover and do program where a lot of the programs are about things that children might be seeing out and about. They are about activities that they might do, and again, that really democratizes the experience of childhood. It's bringing it to children who maybe aren't able to be out and about or don't have access to childcare provision. And then, of course, we have the kind of wind down at bedtime. We have the recommissioning of the clangers, which Kay did, and story time, and again, sort of just a real understanding of the rhythm of a child's day.
It's so interesting, as you've both been speaking, you know, I threw it out to the audience what they'd like to talk about, how they use children's TV or did use children's TV. There's so many messages, so much reminiscing as well as what they're doing now. Let me read a couple of them that are coming in. This is Jill. My experience of children's TV possibly saved my sister and I's lives. Blue Peter was a real favourite, and among the crafty makes and the programme Pets were educational and life skills. One such was what to do if there's a chip pan fire in your kitchen. I knew to throw it out the door, and when this happened to my younger sister, instead of putting it under the water, and that's an act that would have had dire consequences. So some educational TV going on there. Here's another one. This is from Orly. I am a mother of 3 children under the age of 6. I used to rely on kids' TV as an after-school nanny. It was my only chance to get anything done.